Hi all and welcome back. So in the next couple of videos or three videos, I'm going to just take the last number of examples to appear in the Leaving Cert examples for the short questions. So here we have the three short questions for relating to perspective as they would have appeared in the papers. So here I just put them all together in the one thing. So we'll just go take the first one here, which is this bin exercise. Then we'll take the, let's say this next one below it and then this one over here. And we'll do it in three separate videos. So just looking at how it appears in the short questions, the graphic below shows a litter bin and logo. The drawing on the right is partially completed, perspective view of the bin. Complete the perspective drawing of the bin using an auxiliary vanishing point for the sloping surface. So here we have our plan view here we have our spectator like so, our picture plane, and just as it was from their point of view to save space on the page, instead of having your perspective image up at the top here, they've pulled it back down. So there is our ground line there, and there is our horizon line like so. So that's I mean that might be a little bit kind of unusual for what we've been doing. We've been putting our perspective image up at the top, but it is really exactly the same thing. The only difference is that when we take our point down to our spectator, instead of bringing it past the plan view up into our perspective, we're taking it down below our spectator into our perspective image. Um, you can see just looking at it as well, we have a little 3D preview of what the solution should look like. And there's actually some hints as well within this. Not only to what the piece should look like, but you can also see that some information, like say this point here, and all the edges of our kind of logo for our bin here are joined down to this single point down here. So that's which we have over here in our drawing. So that's going to be useful to us in a second. Okay, so let's just have a look and see. I mean, there's our basic setup. I've just expanded it out. There's our preview. And we can just simply go and say, well, look, what can we do using our two existing vanishing points? We have VP1 and VP2 over here. So we can probably do a lot of this with just our regular vanishing points. I think if we look at it here, it says to use an auxiliary vanishing point for the sloping surface. So our sloping surface here like that. So it actually specifically tells us they want us to find an auxiliary vanishing point as part of our answer. We don't need to, but we're actually required to. But let's do what we can without our auxiliary vanishing point for the moment. So I'm just going to take, well, look, here's the side of my object here. Here's kind of part at the top completed. I have part of the front surface here. So we can just kind of tidy up some of those surfaces. We can complete this side here by going back down to vanishing point 1 and just joining up our side like so. We can do the same then if we want to locate our point on the opposite side over here. You can see I go straight across. So that's the equivalent of me going from the left over to the right and join up my line. There's my far side surface there. Um, so I can go from there. I want to go back in this direction here. So I go back to vanishing point 1. And that's where a lot of students will actually make a mistake. They'll actually take that point there and just say, oh, that looks like it could be the side. And they'll imagine that to be this side here. No, no. Remember what direction you're moving in. If you're moving across the front face, vanishing point 2. If you're going from front to back, it's vanishing point 1. So that gives us our essentially the back of our object. To locate where we stop with that, we just use our method where we have the back of the object down to our spectator. The position of him comes back, and there is the back of our bin there like that. You can see at the back of the bin we have another kind of area here, kind of in line with the, say, the front of it. So it's not just going to be squared straight across. But we can find that by just taking our front corner here, and we want to go from the front to the back. So like before, we're going to vanishing point 1. So that gives us our point here, which is our locating point here. And then we want to go from left to right. So vanishing point 2 is going to do that for us. So there is the back of our bin like so. We can also kind of complete a lot of the logo here by just taking each of our points. They want to go straight across from left to right, back to vanishing point 2. And we take them down into our point, which we saw in our preview. All our vertical edges or our kind of angled edges here are going to be joined to. So that completes the little logo of our bin there like so. So there's the logo of the bin. Now let's go and complete the actual sloped parts, which we were told we want to use our auxiliary vanishing point for. So we know the angle of, well, we don't actually know the angle of this guy here. So how are we going to do this? We can't go and use our regular method of kind of taking our line like so and putting our triangle and putting our angle because we don't have any rise or run really at this. But what we can do is we can say that, well, if we take our slope surface here, this is where the trick of this really comes in. The slope of this surface, well, there he is in our plan view there. We have a vanishing point for lines moving in this direction with no slope. That's vanishing point 2. Because this guy moves in the same direction but has a slope, he's going to be above vanishing point 2. Now, ordinarily we'd work out from our angle the height he is above it, but in this case we actually have the line in our perspective drawing. So what I can do is I can just extend him on until he's above that vanishing point. Remember, that's the height that we normally try and find using our angle. We don't know the angle this time, but we do have a preview of it. So we can just extend him on. That we'll find as our auxiliary vanishing point, and then we can use that then for the same sloped line on the far side, in the back of the object. So there's our line like that. Then going from front to back to VP1, and that gives us our edge here, and then we can just join up our slope here at the very back of it, and that gives us the finish of our question. So that is our question completed. I don't think there's anything else that is needed on it. No, I think that's it. Yeah, so that is the question. So again, it's a short question, so you have a very little amount of time for it, but at the same time, it's still trying to assess the same things. And that was a nice way that it had to assess that auxiliary vanishing point. That it gave you the line, and you just had to know that, well, because he's moving in the same direction as this line here, this is 0 slope, so he's on the horizon line. This guy is going to have an actual positive slope, so he's going to be above it. So you knew that you could extend him on to our line from our vanishing point to there. So yep, that's our question. And the next video then I'll go through the next example, the little birdhouse example.